Hello and welcome to On Second Street. We have a very special episode lined up for you today. Recently, the Patricia Trottier and Gwyn Morgan essay contest took place for students across Canada. This was sponsored by the Manning, or put on by the Manning Foundation and sponsored by several other organizations. And it gave students a chance to talk about a public policy problem in Canada and then identify some solutions. And there were lots of really interesting essays. I got to read a bunch of them myself. And so today we've got two of the participants. First up, we're going to speak with one of the runners-up in that essay contest. Morgan Geleynse is a student at Redeemer University in Hamilton, and she's written an essay called Aquinas' Verdict, Natural Law and Legal Positivism Clash Over Free Speech. Morgan, thank you for taking a few minutes to chat with us today. Why don't we, before we dive into your essay, I wonder if maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you studying in university?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm currently studying English writing and philosophy. So,
Good stuff. Now, this essay that you wrote, do you want to tell us first about, I mentioned in the intro there with the contest, you had to talk about a problem and then identify the solution. What do you see as the problem that's happening right now?
I think the problem currently in Canada, especially in the area of jurisprudence, is that there's this huge debate going on over hate speech and freedom of speech. And while there is a consensus on the idea that there is a right to freedom of speech, we can't really agree on what the limits of that should be. And I think the fundamental problem at the root of that is that people on opposing sides are speaking different languages, and there's no consensus or even consideration really of what a human right is to begin with and how freedom of speech fits into that.
And so what is there maybe an example of where you see this as a particular problem?
There's no particular example that comes to mind right now. Although I would say with Bill C-63, there was a lot of debate over that, and a lot of very public figures such as Bruce Pardy or John Carpay and even Jordan Peterson pitching into that
Mhm.
argument and arguing that it far oversteps the reaches of what a government should be able to do regarding freedom of speech. Um,
Mhm.
Whereas others argue that it's necessary to protect others in the country and their safety.
And you'll have to refresh my memory. Is Bill 663, is that the Online Harms Act legislation that was proposed by Ottawa, or was it one of the other ones?
It was the Online Harms Act, yes.
Okay. All right. So, what do you see as the solution then? Because we do hear this all the time about how, people are saying hateful things, and no one likes the idea of hearing hateful things, but it gets tricky, doesn't it, when it comes to who gets to decide what is hateful versus just something that maybe is, just words and comments that people don't like. Um, what do you see as any particular solution in this area?
The ultimate solution is re-anchoring ourselves in an understanding of what human rights are. And
Mhm.
I believe that St. Thomas Aquinas's explication of natural law provides the most reasonable basis by which we can understand that and how freedom of speech fits into uh, human rights.
So let's talk about St. Thomas Aquinas for a second. Could you just tell us a little bit about who he is and what it was that he suggested?
St. Thomas Aquinas was born in the 1200s, and uh, he was raised in Italy and educated by a group of Benedictine monks, and eventually felt a vocation to become a Dominican friar, which he did, and as one of the most brilliant philosophers in Western history, would eventually go on to influence popes and other major figures in his time, as well as become a canonized saint in our own.
Okay, let's when we come back after the commercial break, we'll dig in a little bit more in terms of what it was that he advocated for. We'll be back in just a moment.